Every single time you start your truck, you might be executing a slow-motion death sentence on your engine. You think you are protecting your investment by buying a thicker, heavier oil grade because an online forum told you it offers better protection. The data proves that this single blind assumption is actively destroying your engine from the inside out. Your dashboard warning lights will not save you. The damage happens in total silence, hidden deep within the machine tolerances of your oil passages. By the time you notice a symptom, you are already facing a $10,000 engine replacement. We ran an identical Ford engine through a brutal, data-logged experiment using 3 different oil weights: 0W-20, 5W-30, and 5W-40. We did not rely on marketing claims or the opinions of old-school mechanics. We used precise digital sensors and laboratory fluid analysis to uncover the raw, unvarnished truth. The results expose a massive gap between internet myths and actual mechanical reality. Danger 5. The hot oil pressure illusion. You see a higher oil pressure reading on your gauge, and you assume your engine is safer. This is the single biggest misconception in the automotive world today. Higher pressure does not mean better lubrication in a modern engine like Ford's 2.7-liter EcoBoost. High pressure simply means the oil pump is fighting against restriction. The engine uses incredibly tight bearing clearances. When you force a thick 5W40 oil into passages designed for 0W20, the oil cannot flow freely. The pump works harder. The pressure spikes. But the actual volume of oil reaching critical components drops significantly. You are starving your engine while celebrating a high number on your dashboard. Our data logging showed that 5W40 produced the highest hot oil pressure of all 3 grades. But it also caused internal fluid resistance that forced the engine to work harder just to turn itself over. You are trading away fluid velocity for useless, dangerous pressure. The actionable fix: stop using oil pressure as a metric for protection. Drain any heavy-grade oil and refill your crankcase with the exact 0W20 viscosity specified by the engineers who designed the oiling passages. Danger 4. The 5.6-second turbo starvation window. The most violent event in your engine's daily life happens the second you turn the key, when your truck sits overnight. The protective oil film drains back into the oil pan. Your moving parts are left vulnerable. Our cold start testing at 40 degrees Fahrenheit revealed a terrifying reality for fans of thick oil. The factory-spec 0W20 oil reached full pressure at the top of the engine in just 2.8 seconds. The 5W30 oil took 4.1 seconds to cover the same distance. The heavy 5W40 oil took a massive 5.6 seconds to reach the turbocharger feed line. Your turbocharger spins at over 100,000 revolutions per minute almost immediately upon ignition, with 5W40 in your oil pan. Your turbo bearings are spinning with zero lubrication for nearly 3 extra seconds every single morning. Multiply those seconds by hundreds of cold starts over a few years. You are subjecting your engine to hours of completely unlubricated metal-to-metal friction. A $20 savings on a cheap jug of heavy oil instantly translates into a $3,000 turbo replacement. The actionable fix: prioritize cold flow ratings above all else. Switch to a true synthetic 0W20 immediately to ensure your turbocharger receives oil within 3 seconds of ignition. Danger 3. The machined clearance trap. Modern engines are not built like the V8 blocks of 40 years ago. The 2.7-liter EcoBoost relies on microscopic tolerances that require a thin, fast-flowing fluid film. When you choose a 5W30 or 5W40 oil, you are introducing a fluid that physically cannot fit properly into the bearing clearances. The thicker oil cannot establish a proper hydrodynamic wedge between the crankshaft and the bearings. Instead of gliding on a film of oil, the metal surfaces begin to scuff against each other. The engine tries to compensate for this internal drag, but it cannot change its own physical dimensions. Many mechanics tell you that thicker oil coats parts better. They are wrong. Thicker oil simply gets trapped outside the tightest clearances, causing localized hot spots and accelerated wear. Our testing confirmed this by tracking the physical drag inside the block. The heavier the oil, the more resistance the pistons encountered during every single stroke. You are actively fighting the physical architecture of your own engine. The actionable fix: reject the advice of online forums that claim thicker oil provides a better cushion. Stick to the clearance specifications in your manual to maintain the required hydrodynamic boundary layer. Danger 2. The hidden financial bleed. Choosing the wrong oil grade does not just damage your hardware. It actively drains your wallet at the fuel pump every single day. Our data logging captured a clear, undeniable drop in fuel economy as oil viscosity increased. The thin 0W20 oil produced the highest miles per gallon figures across all test phases, including highway cruising and city driving. When we switched to 5W30, fuel economy dropped by a measurable margin. When we pushed the engine to run on 5W40, the fuel mileage plummeted even further. The engine burns extra fuel simply to overcome the internal fluid friction of the heavy oil. Think about the math over the lifespan of your vehicle. Saving $10 on a generic bottle of 5W40 can easily cost you hundreds of dollars in extra fuel stops over a single year. You are spending more money at the pump to make your engine wear out faster. It is a completely losing mathematical equation. The actionable fix. Track your fuel mileage closely after an oil change. If you notice a sudden drop, verify that the shop did not install a heavy 5W30 or 5W40 grade by mistake, and purge it if they did. Danger 1. The microscopic laboratory autopsy opinions do not matter when the laboratory reports come back. We sent the oil samples from all 3 test runs to an independent fluid analysis lab to look for wear metals. When an engine wears down, it leaves microscopic traces of metal suspended in the oil. The 0W20 sample came back with an iron level of 11 parts per million. The 5W30 sample showed a clear jump, returning 14 parts per million of iron. The 5W40 sample, the oil that myth believers claim protects best, returned a shocking 18 parts per million of iron. Aluminum levels followed the exact same upward trend line. The physical proof is undeniable. The heavier oils cause the engine to consume itself at a faster rate. Every extra part per million represents material stripped away from your pistons, cylinder walls, and bearings. The manufacturer spec did not come from a marketing department. It came from thousands of hours of rigorous engineering validation. Deviating from that spec means you are choosing to let your engine wear out prematurely. The actionable fix. Pull your own oil sample during your next service and send it to a certified lab. Use the wear metal data to prove to yourself that the factory viscosity is the only grade that belongs in your engine. You now know exactly what happens inside the block when you deviate from the factory oil specification. But the data revealed an even deeper, more troubling issue when we analyzed how these oils break down under extreme thermal stress. The wear numbers we saw at 2,000 miles are only the beginning of the story, and the next discovery completely reframes the entire argument for high-mileage trucks. Danger 7. The variable valve timing hydraulic fail. The mechanical nightmare of running incorrect oil viscosity extends far beyond simple bearing wear. Your Ford engine relies on a highly sensitive variable valve timing system, known as TIVCT. This system controls the opening and closing of your valves using oil pressure as a hydraulic fluid. The computer commands electronic solenoids to pulse oil into precise chambers on your camshaft phasers. When you use a heavy oil like 5W30 or 5W40, you throw the entire calibration into chaos. The thicker oil cannot move quickly enough through the tiny orifices of the VVT solenoids. The hydraulic response lags behind the engine control module's commands. This lag forces your camshafts to miss their target timing windows by fractions of a second. You do not get a check engine light for this immediately. Instead, your engine suffers from microscopic pre-ignition events and severe timing deviations. The continuous delay places an immense mechanical strain on your timing chains and tensioners. The tensioners, also driven by oil pressure, fail to extend fully because the thick oil creates a restriction in the feed gallery. The timing chain begins to whip against the plastic guides. Over time, these guides shatter, sending plastic shrapnel straight into your oil pan. Our data logging captured measurable timing phase delays at high revolutions per minute when running 5W40 oil. The engine was physically fighting its own valve train just to keep up with the driver's throttle inputs. The economic stakes are staggering. A standard bottle of factory-recommended 0W20 costs you about $10. Ignoring this hydraulic reality and running a heavy oil will destroy your timing components, replacing a stretched timing chain. Broken guides and damaged cam phasers on a Ford EcoBoost costs up to $4,000 in intensive shop labor. You are risking a massive repair bill just to run an unapproved oil grade based on a hunch. The actionable fix. If you hear a brief rattle from the front of your engine during a cold start, check your oil viscosity immediately. Drain the unapproved thick oil and refill with a premium 0W20 that meets Ford's strict WSS M2C 947B1 specification to restore proper hydraulic response. Danger 6. The turbocharger oil return restriction. The turbochargers on your engine are engineering marvels that spin at blistering speeds while surviving extreme thermal environments. They require a continuous, rapid cycle of fresh oil to lubricate the center cartridge bearings and carry away destructive heat. The oiling system relies on a delicate balance between high-pressure feed lines and completely unrestricted, gravity-fed return lines. When you use a thick 5W40 or even a heavy 5W30 oil, you completely disrupt this fluid balance. The heavier oil passes through the superheated turbo cartridge too slowly because the oil moves sluggishly. Its exposure time to extreme exhaust temperatures increases exponentially. This extended exposure causes the oil to reach its thermal limits and begin baking inside the bearing housing. This process is known as oil coking. Microscopic charcoal-like deposits build up along the delicate shaft and seals. Furthermore, the thick oil struggles to drain out of the large return tube back into the oil pan. The oil backs up inside the turbo cartridge, creating a high-pressure zone that forces fluid past the internal dynamic seals. The oil leaks directly into your intake tract and exhaust system. You will notice this as a faint puff of blue smoke during a warm idle or a sudden loss of boost pressure. Our laboratory autopsy of the oil samples showed a higher concentration of carbon-insoluble particles in the 5W40 run. This indicates the oil was actively burning inside the turbocharger during hard acceleration tests. The economic fallout is entirely preventable. A high-quality 0W20 oil keeps fluid velocity high, keeping the turbo bearings cool and clean. Allowing a thick oil to coke your turbocharger will ruin the assembly. Replacing a pair of turbochargers on an F-150 costs upwards of $3,500. You are actively cooking your turbochargers from the inside out by choosing an oil that cannot thaw out fast enough to cool itself. The actionable fix. Never idle your truck for extended periods if you suspect a heavier oil is in the crankcase. Transition back to a factory-approved 0W20 synthetic oil immediately to flush out restriction and restore the rapid thermal cycle your turbochargers require. Danger 9. The direct injection fuel dilution trap. The most deceptive trap your modern Ford engine sets for you is fuel dilution, a silent killer unique to gasoline direct injection (GDI) systems like the EcoBoost, because your engine sprays fuel directly into the combustion chamber under immense pressure, up to 3,000 pounds per square inch. A tiny amount of raw gasoline inevitably slips past the piston rings. This happens most frequently during cold starts and short trips when the engine has not reached full operating temperature. This raw fuel mixes directly with the oil in your crankcase, stripping away its viscosity and dropping your oil grade down. If you use a thick 5W40 oil, you might think you are outsmarting this system by providing a cushion against dilution. The exact opposite is true. The heavy 5W40 oil takes much longer to warm up, keeping the engine in its inefficient cold start fuel enrichment cycle for an extended period. You are actively pumping more raw gasoline into your crankcase because your thick oil is keeping the engine cold. As the fuel mixes with the heavy oil, it destroys the chemical additives and anti-wear agents, leaving your engine completely unprotected. Our laboratory testing revealed that the 5W40 oil suffered from a significantly higher percentage of fuel dilution than the 0W20 oil over the same exact driving interval. The thin 0W20 oil warmed up almost instantly, allowing the engine to pull back fuel delivery and save itself from severe dilution. The financial cost of ignoring fuel dilution is catastrophic. A high-quality oil change costs $50. Ignoring fuel dilution while running a heavy oil will wash your cylinder walls clean of lubrication. causing your pistons to scuff and seize. A completely seized EcoBoost engine block will cost you $12,000 to replace at a dealership. The actionable fix: never let your truck idle endlessly in the winter to warm up. Drive it gently right after starting to get the oil up to temperature quickly, and stick to a high-quality 0W20 oil with strong shear stability to resist fuel breakdown. Danger 8. The low-speed pre-ignition. LSPI, catastrophe. We have saved the most destructive. Engine-shattering danger for last. If you own a turbocharged, direct-injected engine and you are choosing your oil based on a discount or an outdated myth, you are playing Russian roulette with your pistons. This danger is known as low-speed pre-ignition, or LSPI. LSPI is an abnormal combustion event that occurs when the engine is under high load at low revolutions per minute, such as accelerating gently up a hill in a high gear. Without warning, the fuel-air mixture in the cylinder ignites way too early, long before the spark plug fires. This creates a massive, violent pressure spike inside the combustion chamber that acts like a sledgehammer hitting the top of your piston. The engineering cause of LSPI is directly tied to your motor oil. Microscopic droplets of oil are forced past the piston rings and mix with raw fuel on the cylinder walls, creating a highly volatile chemical compound. Older oil formulations and heavy, unapproved weights like 5W40 contain high levels of calcium detergents that act as a catalyst for this premature ignition. Modern 0W20 oils are precisely engineered with magnesium-based detergents, specifically to suppress and prevent LSPI events. When you pour a heavy, non-compliant oil into your crankcase, you are introducing the exact chemical triggers that cause LSPI. The pressure spike from a single severe LSPI event will instantly shatter your piston rings, crack your piston lands, or bend your connecting rods. Your dashboard will not flash a warning. Your engine will simply self-destruct in a fraction of a second. Our data logging captured several micro-knocks during the 5W40 heavy load testing, indicating the engine was on the absolute verge of a catastrophic LSPI failure. The economic contrast here is the ultimate wake-up call: spending an extra $10 on a properly certified, modern API SP or Ford specification 0W20 oil is cheap insurance. Allowing an unapproved heavy oil to trigger LSPI will obliterate your engine internals, forcing an immediate $10,000 to $12,000 engine replacement. The actionable fix: look at the back of every oil bottle you buy. Look for the API SP and ILSAC GF6A ratings, alongside the specific Ford WSS M2C962A1 certification. If those exact letters are not printed on the bottle, do not let it touch your truck. The final verdict and complete solution: the data has spoken, the laboratory reports are clear, and the myths have been completely dismantled. Your modern Ford engine is a highly advanced piece of engineering built around precise fluid dynamics, tight tolerances, and rapid thermal cycles. Treating it like an old-school tractor engine by dumping thick oil into the crankcase is a guaranteed path to premature wear and catastrophic failure. Let's review your definitive action plan to protect your investment. Purge the heavy fluid. Immediately drain any unapproved 5W30 or 5W40 oil from your modern EcoBoost engine. Run the exact specification. Refill your engine with a full synthetic 0W20 oil that carries the official API SP and Ford certifications to prevent LSPI and ensure rapid 3-second cold start lubrication. Verify your labels. Never buy oil based on a sale or a generic brand name. Look for the precise engineering specifications printed on the back of the jug. Track your variables, monitor your fuel economy, and listen for valve train noises during cold starts. Use independent laboratory oil analysis to catch internal wear before it becomes a multi-$1,000 bill. Stop listening to internet theories and old-school advice. Your engine was built for optimization, not compensation. Give it the fluid it was engineered to run on, and it will reward you